I'm going to make the top and the bottom layer out of Purple Heart, and I'm going to make the middle out of, I've got a couple scrap pieces, one of cherry and one of maple, that are just perfect sizes for that heart to go in the middle. So I'm going to make one of each of those. I had a piece of 4/4 Purple Heart, and it's I think it was 18 inches long, and it was 4/4, so I resawed it, so I've got 2/4 inch pieces out of it. Key to my heart section, as I said, I had some leftover, some cherry and some maple, and those will work well for that middle section where I've got to do all the cutting. So let's get to work. There are a number of ways to attach patterns to wood. In fact, I recorded a video showing 9 ways to perform this task. I'll leave a link on the screen and in the description. My favorite method of doing this is with scroll saw tape, and I'll leave a link to the distributor in the description as well. This is a 2-sided tape, and it comes in 20-foot rolls. You just roll it out on the board you want to attach the patterns to, cut it to width, then continue with more pieces if you have a long board, as I do here. Then you peel off the backing to leave a sticky surface. The tape is strong enough to hold your pattern in place while cutting, but it peels off easily when you're done. It has the added benefit of lubricating the blade as you cut. I started with the cutout for the key in the middle section. This is 1/4 inch thick maple, and I chose a number 3 Pegasus modified geometry blade. If you're new to scroll sawing and need some advice on choosing blades and blade sizes, I'll leave links in the description to 2 videos you should find helpful. If your vision isn't perfect, or even if it's just because you spend hours at a time on the scroll saw like I do, lighted magnifier is an accessory you should consider. One of the most important techniques you need to master on the scroll saw is to let the blade do the work. Scroll saw blades, especially one as small as the number 3 I'm using here, can easily flex and even break if not used properly. You should apply even pressure, otherwise the blade will flex and give you an uneven cut. Making all the inside cuts for the letters is the most difficult part of this project, and it may be a little daunting for a beginner. I was thinking about how someone new to scroll sawing might go about learning, and I came up with an idea. If you're new to making inside cuts like the letters here, it might be a good idea to practice on some scrap wood. You could use another copy of this pattern, or another possibility would be to print out the alphabet in a stencil font. Start with a larger font size, then work your way down to a smaller font. It's frustrating to waste expensive wood because you made a major goof while cutting. The key is an easy part to make with only one inside cut, then the outside cut. When making a part like this, I look for an angle rather than a curve as the starting point. If you start on a curve, you'll end up back at that spot, but it's easy for the blade to be off a tiny fraction. This leaves a rough spot that you'll have to go back and correct later. I'd rather avoid that, so I always look for an intersection with a point to give me a sharp beginning and end with no cleanup needed. There's enough detail in the key that you may have to adjust the motor speed down a little bit to get better control. A slower speed makes the blade less aggressive and makes it easier for you to maneuver the workpiece without overshooting your cut line. There's no need to be in a hurry to make this or any other cut. I've mentioned this before, but it bears repeating. Scroll sawing is not a good hobby or business for an impatient person. The lid has a 1/4 inch hole in it for the dowel to fit in, up from the middle layer. This will allow the top to be swiveled out of the way to reveal the key inside the heart. This is about as simple as you can get. I recommend starting at the point at the bottom of the heart and cutting around the heart shape. You want to be careful to cut this as accurately as possible, though, because you want all the heart shapes, the top, the middle, and the bottom, to match exactly. They need to be congruent, as my high school geometry teacher would have put it. This is going to be a very easy glue up. I set the top aside because it's not going to be part of the glue up. As I set the top against the bottom, I noticed the cut was perfect, so I won't need to do any sanding to make these parts match. When you're gluing 2 solid pieces together, you usually put glue on both surfaces, but because of the letters and key shape cut out from this middle layer, the glue up is different. I used a small glue bottle to apply glue to the solid surface of the maple piece. Since the glue is water soluble, I can just use my finger to spread it around. I'll pay particular attention to getting all the edges covered, as well as the larger sections between the cutouts. I did not put any glue on the Purple Heart bottom because if I got glue on any surfaces that wouldn't be touching the top, those areas wouldn't take finish later. After spreading glue on the maple piece, I carefully put it in place on the bottom. I didn't want to spread glue where it wasn't needed for the reason already mentioned. In my experience, these spring clamps are the best choice for this type of glue up. R clamps are too big and a bit of overkill. I have plenty of F clamps, but when you are tightening them, the turning motion has a tendency to make the pieces want to move. I do not want the top piece moving and spreading glue where it's not needed or wanted. The spring clamps are perfect because all you have to do is open the jaws, put the clamp where you want it, and ease the jaws shut. The clamp is putting only perpendicular pressure on the two pieces. These clamps are inexpensive, and the small size works great for placing 6 of them in various places around the heart. I set this aside to dry, then I attached the dowel for the top to pivot on. I used a 1/4 inch dowel as the pattern showed, and it took a little gentle persuasion with a mallet to seat it fully. When I tried to slip the top in place over the dowel, it was way too tight, so I enlarged the hole in the top with a 17/64 drill bit. That's one of those things you learn with woodworking experience. Dowels can be slightly larger or smaller than expected. It's one of the reasons you need a wide range of drill bits on hand in your shop. I used a spray polyurethane finish to complete the Key to My Heart project. There are so many nooks and crannies in that middle section with cutouts for the word and key that doing this with a brush-on finish would not have been practical. If you're still in the mood for love, I'll give you a suggestion for another project in the corner of the screen.